Are you ready for spring break? No, me either. Well, I do have a head start on everybody because I already live in southern Mexico. So one thing I always look up and I always have a hard time finding is book recommendations. When I go on a trip to some other place, especially another country, I like to read books that either reflect that country itself, or the authors from the country, or it's set there. It has specific meaning to that place. I love giving book recommendations, honestly. I have two friends that always hit me up for book recommendations, but neither of them have done so lately, so this is definitely scratching that itch for me. So 4 of these recommendations are Mexican authors, or considered Mexican authors. One of them is from the United States, but I think writes about Mexico in a very loving, non-cringy way, which can be rare, sadly, the United States. One of the authors came to Mexico, or immigrated to Mexico as a young woman, but lived and worked in Mexico her whole life, very much claimed as a Mexican artist. Another person born in Mexico, but worked as a diplomat in other countries for most of his life. And so it's kind of this perspective of being from here, but living elsewhere and looking back. So it's kind of a wide range of perspectives. I'm not quite at the level of the 2 teenagers on the first season of White Lotus who are literally reading Nietzsche on the beach. I wish I had my reading list when I was a 16-year-old on a cruise with my parents. I think I put a lot of energy into thinking through how I wanted to be book perceived. Now I'm more a Harper than Daphne, so there's some thought put into it. It can be a little pretentious. I'm definitely not going for what they call beach reads on book lists, but I try to be more chill. But yeah, but is Harper just a grown-up, those teenagers? I do judge people by their book covers. Don't be that girl in Playa del Carmen reading Fountainhead. If I see that, I'm gonna be like... The first one does give me a little bit of will they judge me vibes. I'll explain. As far as Mexican authors go, you do not get more classic than this. If you want to seem smart, just pick out a few things that Susan Sontag says in the foreword, and then either agree with them or disagree with them. And you might meet me let's talk about what's the foreword. Oh, one of my favorites, Leonora Carrington, The Hearing Trumpet. This has become one of my favorite novels. If you like that kind of drug-fueled, hallucinogenic kind of vibey stuff, but you want it, I don't know, less drug-fueled, more senility-fueled? I guess that's what you get with this book. The protagonist is an elderly woman who is being put in a nursing home by her family. It is a wild ride. That does not do it justice. I just say that because how often do you see a protagonist who is a very disruptive elderly woman? Not that often in literature. I cannot even explain to you what is in store. It also would be awesome if you are going with your besties that you want to grow old with. This would be a great book club with your besties that you want to grow old with. Do you like spooky? Do you like short stories? Do you like Shirley Jackson? Short story collection by Amparo called The House Guest. Loved the title story, The House Guest. A lot of the other stories really stuck with me as well. I think about them often. There's a lot of weird twists. Sometimes I think about these things as if they happened in real life, and then I remember the weird twist or something that happens in the story, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's not real. Also, style-wise, if you are not actually planning on reading the book and you just want it to be there as an accessory, I would pick this one. It's lightweight, small. It's a short story collection, so just pick one of the middle short stories to read. Nobody knows you didn't read the earlier ones. I would say that the contents of this are not what you would classify as a beach read, but the cover of it definitely gives beach read vibes. So if you're not going to read a book and you just want to hang out with a book, I would definitely go with this one. Maybe you will end up reading it then. And it's now one of my favorite collections of short stories. It's one of my primary motivators for mastering Spanish is so that I can read more of her work that is not in translation. So how's that for a rec? Sergio Pital, there we go. If you have been a little like, this is all fiction and that's fine, but I don't really read fiction that much. I'm more into memoir, I'm more into biographies, I'm more into just nonfiction generally. So this is the closest that these recommendations get so far. It's all like, it's very fiction and it's very out there was what I've recommended so far. Fiction. But not this one. It feels really intimate. It feels you're like getting letters from a friend who just has like a lot of life experience and a really interesting perspective on things. So I carted this thing around to coffee shops all around Mexico City last summer when I was there. I felt I had this like very sophisticated guide to the literary life of Mexico. I also got a ton of ideas for more authors to read. It's a bit of a boys' club, but I guess that's okay. A women's rights conference I once attended, very memorably, this woman said, let the men speak. Let the men write, you know? Let the men write. Let the men recommend other men. Okay, when I started recording, the sun was there, and now it's here, so let's wrap this up quickly and jump in the pool. Finally, Aristide, an Odense writer, she writes a lot about Mexico, but in a way that's not super cringe. Anyway, it's like she is an outsider writing about the culture, but she writes like an outsider writing about the culture and doesn't really like, you know, claim it or mexplain it, as we like to say here. She's not mexplaining things. It kind of reminds me of John Steinbeck. So if you like John Steinbeck, definitely give Lucia Berlin a try. They're cut from the same cloth. A Manual for Cleaning Women is my recommendation. It's a collection of short stories. All I have here is her memoir, but her short stories are based on like her life, so there's a lot of overlap. The stories are just beautifully well written, and it's very easy to connect with the humanity in the stories. I cried a lot of it. Cry a lot anyway, but whatever. I want all 5 of these people to come with me to Cancun for spring break. A lot of them would have no idea what I'm talking about because Cancun did not exist until like the 70s. So hey, let's go to Acapulco. And I'd just be there. They'd be the smart ones talking, and I would be like, oh yeah, and let me tell you how the internet works, I guess. It's my function. So I hope that this gives any bookworms who are heading to Mexico for spring break some ideas of books to check out for your reading material while you're there. If you want to play a fun game, comment below who your dream spring break crew would be from history or modern life. Anyway, be safe out there, enjoy spring break, and I'll see you next time. All right. Okay, screw this. It is so freaking hot. I'm getting in the pool.